Picture this, 90 NBA players get asked, who's the most overrated player in the league? And the name at the top, Indiana's Tyrese Haliburton. Yeah, you heard that right, Haliburton, coming in second? Rudy Gobert third, Trae Young. But hold up, does this even make sense? How is Rudy Gobert overrated when half the league calls him soft? And Tyrese Haliburton, the guy leading the Pacers' high-octane offense, getting more hate than anyone, something's not adding up. Today, we're diving deep into this spicy poll from The Athletic, breaking down why players voted this way, whether they're right, and what overrated even means in today's NBA. This is gonna be a wild ride, so let's get into it. If you're an NBA fan, you love a good debate. And nothing stirs the pot like players calling out their own. According to a poll by The Athletic, 90 NBA players voted Indiana's Tyrese Haliburton as the league's most overrated player. Rudy Gobert, the Defensive Player of the Year, came in second, and Atlanta's Trae Young took third. Now, when I saw this, my jaw hit the floor. Haliburton's a playmaking wizard, Gobert's a defensive anchor, and Trae's a scoring machine. Overrated? Really, this poll has sparked heated arguments on X, with fans saying, do these players even know what overrated means? Others think it's just jealousy or bias, so what's the deal? Are these guys truly overhyped, or is this vote more about grudges than facts? In this video, we're breaking down the 5 key factors behind this poll: stats, perception, media hype, and more. Plus, I've got a hot take on whether this vote exposes a deeper issue in the NBA. Stick around to the end, and let's figure out what's really going on. Let's dive in. Let's start with the numbers, because stats don't lie but perception might. Tyrese Haliburton, the so-called most overrated player, is averaging 19.6 points, 9.2 assists, and 5.2 rebounds this season, with an 8-2 record for the Pacers as of May 2025. He's the engine of one of the league's most exciting offenses, dishing dimes like a young Steve Nash. Overrated? That's tough to swallow when you see his impact. In the 2024 playoffs, he put up 17.4 points and 7 assists on 67% true shooting in round 2. How does that scream overhyped? Rudy Gobert, second on the list, is a 4-time Defensive Player of the Year. He anchors Minnesota's top-tier defense, averaging 2.1 blocks and 12.9 rebounds last season. But here's the catch: players and fans often clown him for his limited offensive game. If nobody's hyping Gobert's scoring, how is he overrated? And Trae Young, say what you want about his defense, but the guy's averaging 25.7 points and 10.8 assists. These aren't empty stats. These guys deliver. So why the hate? It might be less about their play and more about how they're perceived. Reason 2. The media machine. The NBA thrives on narratives, and sometimes the hype train goes too far. That kind of praise can rub players the wrong way, especially if they feel he hasn't earned it yet. Posts on X show fans and players mocking the hype, with one saying they called Haliburton the most overrated, and the media's acting like he's not a great player. Another post pointed out his 19.6 points and 9.2 assists since the vote, like he's proving them wrong. Gobert's a lightning rod for criticism. Despite his defensive dominance, he's been memed to death for his playoff struggles against smaller lineups. The media hypes him as a game changer, but players might see him as one-dimensional. Trae Young? His flashy style and deep threes get him on highlight reels, but his defensive issues and the Hawks' lack of playoff success make him an easy target. When the media overhypes a player's strengths without addressing their flaws, it creates a backlash, and that's what this poll feels like. Let us get real. This poll might be less about overrated and more about player dynamics. NBA players are competitive, and yeah, sometimes they're petty. Voting Haliburton number 1 feels personal. He's young, successful, and getting all-star nods. Maybe that breeds resentment. One ex-post said, the 100 men that voted Holly deserve punishment, suggesting players might be hating on his rise. He didn't play in the 2024 Olympics, and some think that snub fueled his fire, with fans noting he's turning up since the vote. Gobert's second-place finish is wild when you consider how little love he gets. If anything, he's underrated by fans who focus on his offensive limits. Players might resent his max contract or his defensive accolades. Trae Young's third-place vote likely ties to his polarizing style: flashy offense, shaky defense. Players see these guys in the locker room, on the court, and in the media. If they feel someone's getting more shine than they deserve, they're not afraid to call it out. Reason 4. Maybe players don't even agree on what overrated means. To some, it's about media hype guys who get praised beyond their impact. To others, it's about contracts or accolades. Haliburton's All-NBA nod and max deal might make players think he overpaid for a guy who hasn't won a ring. Gobert's for DPOY awards might feel excessive to players who see him struggle in certain matchups. Trae's all-star appearances and highlight plays might overshadow his team's mediocrity. But here's the kicker: overrated is subjective. If Gobert's hated on for his offense, but nobody rates him as an offensive star, is he really overrated? If Haliburton's leading a playoff team at 25, is he overhyped or just ascending? The poll feels like a mix of stats, feelings, and grudges. Fans on X are calling it out, with one saying they called Haliburton overrated, but he's out here balling. It's like the term overrated is just a catch-all for "I don't like this guy's vibe." Finally, let's zoom out. This poll isn't just about Haliburton, Gobert, or Young. It's a window into the NBA's culture. Players are hyper-aware of who's getting praise, who's getting paid, and who's getting spotlight. In a league where stars drive the narrative, being labeled overrated can sting. But it also shows how competitive the NBA is. Haliburton's responded by balling out, averaging 19.6 points and 9.2 assists since the vote. Gobert's still anchoring a top defense. Trae still dropping 25 a night. The bigger issue? This poll might reflect a lack of respect among players for each other's games. In the 80s and 90s, stars like Magic and Jordan were revered. Today, it feels like players are quicker to tear each other down. Maybe it's the social media era, where every hot take gets amplified. Or maybe it's just the nature of a league with so much talent. Either way, this vote says as much about the voters as it does about the players they picked. Here's my hot take. This poll is less about overrated players and more about players throwing shade. Tyrese Haliburton's not overrated, he's a rising star carrying a playoff team. Rudy Gobert's not overrated, he's a defensive monster who changes games. Trae Young, love him or hate him, he's a scoring machine. The real problem isn't these players, it's the culture of tearing down success instead of celebrating it. The NBA is better when players lift each other up, not when they're voting each other overrated behind closed doors. What do you think? Is Haliburton really overrated, or is this poll just a popularity contest? Who's your pick for most overrated or underrated? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's get this debate going. If you enjoyed this deep dive, smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell for more NBA breakdowns. We've got more spicy topics coming, so stay tuned. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.